Hi, my name is Dwayne Gathers, and welcome to CivitasLA, featuring diverse and emerging leaders who make up this dynamic region and are creating community every day and building a better tomorrow. These bi-weekly conversations enable us to hear from, learn from, and be inspired by a new generation of civic entrepreneurs who are forging a path forward in making our region a stronger, more resilient, and connected group of citizens. Our goal is to elevate civic discourse, foster community connections, and promote civic knowledge and engagement across the greater Los Angeles region while elevating diverse and emerging voices in that conversation. In the late 1890s, black people began to own insurance companies, with the North Carolina Mutual Life Insurance Company being established and quickly becoming one of the most prominent black-owned businesses in our country. In 1915, there was the establishment by Booker T. Washington of the first Black National Business League to support black entrepreneurs. The 1920s saw the rise of what became known as Black Wall Street in the Greenwood district of Tulsa, Oklahoma, and in the 1980s, the late Reginald Lewis became the first African-American to build a billion-dollar company, TLC International. And in 2004, Black Business Month was established and becomes an annual celebration. So as we consider the contributions made by black businesses and entrepreneurs, we note that Los Angeles County, where we sit here, represents the second largest number of black-owned businesses in the country, behind Cook County, Illinois. Joining us today as we celebrate Black Business Month, I'm delighted to be in studio with Tunua Thrash-Ntuk, the inaugural president and CEO for the Center by Lendistry, as we discuss the state of black businesses in our region, but more importantly, their work in providing critical tools and resources to impact small and minority-owned businesses. Tunua, welcome to CivitasLA.
Thanks, Dwayne. Great to be here.
Great to be with you in studio on this fine Monday morning in Los Angeles. Tunua, on CivitasLA, we always appreciate it if our guests can offer a short personal introduction. Please share. Who is Tunua Thrash-Ntuk?
Well, Dwayne, thanks for having me again, and so excited to be on CivitasLA. You know, how do I describe myself? Tunua Thrash-Ntuk, someone who set out as a little girl from South Central, thinking that she wanted to make sure that her neighborhood had everything other neighborhoods that she had a chance to go to had those things. So having grown up in South Central, I was like, we need a great grocery store. We need restaurants, and, you know, we need economic opportunity for people here. And really, Tunua is someone who has stayed close to those roots because my family still lives in those communities and in that community, but has taken the opportunity to really educate myself as best I can with a UC Berkeley and MIT degree. And then from there, really going on to do community development work across the country, in Boston, New York, New Jersey, the Bay Area, to Los Angeles, as well as internationally. And so today, you know, my work is all about economic empowerment, but also ensuring that there's affordable housing and access to opportunity.
Well, that's terrific. And certainly for full disclosure, you know, I've been in LA 18 years, coming to LA to join the LA Economic Development Corporation, and covered South Central LA, and certainly have known you since your days at West Angeles CDC. So I have appreciated your amazing rise and journey as an economic development leader in our region. So congratulations also on becoming the inaugural president and CEO of the Center by Lendistry. So tell our audience about this particular organization, who it serves, and share with us more about your journey from West Angeles CDC to this time.
Yeah, Dwayne, you know about those early days when I was really a project manager at West Angeles CDC, located in the historic Crenshaw district and affiliated with West Angeles Church under the direction of now co-pastor Bishop Charles E. Blake.
Oh, right.
But yeah, as far as the Center by Lendistry, really excited to be taking the helm there and focusing in on doing all we can to support the capacity of small businesses. So I'm excited to be on today's conversation as we get into the work that we can do to support Black-owned businesses. Yeah. But the Center by Lendistry is really a capacity building organization for small businesses, a technical assistance provider, and it's also a partner with local jurisdictions who are looking to figure out how do they support diverse-owned businesses, provide equitable opportunities, access to capital and other resources for diverse businesses and businesses located in LMI areas. And of course, not to forget women-owned businesses, LGBTQ businesses, as well as disabled and veteran-owned businesses. Those are all sort of our focus and who we're working with.
Yeah,
so talking about my journey, Dwayne, you know, it's... you can't talk about my journey if you don't talk about going from West Angeles Community Development Corporation and then heading over to LISC, the Local Initiative Support Corporation, where I led the Los Angeles office for almost a decade, not quite, and then really being able to take those experiences of bringing capital and opportunity to communities over now to the Center by Lendistry.
No, that's excellent. And Tunua, before we get into the heart of our conversation, we're going to just sidetrack quickly and talk about some of your favorite things. The lightning round is always a great opportunity for us to get to know our guests, but also for our guests to share with our audience, which is now 48 countries, 44 states across the United States are now listening into CivitasLA.
Wow.
So let's get to know you and your LA. Or since I know you were a former candidate for council member in Long Beach, now you live in Long Beach.
Yes.
Maybe some Long Beach favorites. So are you ready for the favorites?
I'm a little scared, but okay, let's give it a try.
Okay. You know, we love food. James, our audio engineer here in studio, just came back from Vegas, where he just thrilled me with all of the delightful food that he had this weekend. Give us a favorite restaurant or two.
Since we're talking about Black business, I'm going to focus on some Black businesses and restaurants that I really like. So certainly Harold and Bales is a favorite. And then I would definitely make sure Doolin's is on the list.
We love Doolin's.
Yes. So this month it's all about Black food business and Black restaurants.
Okay. Give us a favorite place to take a sip.
Favorite place to take a sip.
And that could be a cocktail, coffee, tea.
Ooh, the Steelcraft. So the Steelcraft, so I'm a tea drinker.
Okay.
And so there's Steelhead Coffee. That's a coffee shop in Long Beach, and it is fantastic. Great English breakfast.
I don't think we've had that on the podcast, so thank you for that. Favorite place to take a visitor?
Favorite place to take a visitor. I love looking at the skyline from the Maya Hotel at Fuego. So looking at the skyline and the ocean front. This is also in Long Beach, Dwayne.
Okay.
So I see you looking at me.
Okay. No, well, just for our audience, we want to let them know where to find it. I like that. I'm sure our former guest, Mayor Rex Richardson, or Vice Mayor Rex Richardson, would appreciate this as well. Give us a favorite park or hike.
So there's I love the Coastline Walk in Long Beach, starting at Ocean and Junipero.
Okay.
Very
I
nice
appreciate
walk.
That. You know, as we move beyond the pandemic, people are gathering again, and community activities are taking place again. Give us a favorite community activity or event.
Favorite community activity. Oh, you know what I'm enjoying right now? And again, this is all related to Black business. The Community Coalition, a nonprofit in Los Angeles, located in the area where I grew up, they've got a great scavenger hunt marketplace.
Oh, wow.
And it's an opportunity to connect with Black-owned businesses throughout the county. So it's a great community event for this month.
I have not heard of that. That's outstanding. Well, this is great to know. I really appreciate that, and appreciate you giving us some new places for consideration. So let's start with this. You know, given your journey being from South LA, your leadership at West Angeles and at LISC, and now in this role, you know, give us your sense of the state of Black business in our region overall, what you've experienced.
So this is a topic that is so critical, and I'm really glad that your listeners are going to have a chance to hear a little bit about what's going on with small business in general, especially as we look at the recovery of the pandemic, but in particular, Black business, and why it's so important that we really focus on this community. Much like all small businesses, Black-owned businesses really experienced quite a lot of turmoil during the pandemic. So they lost customers. Too many of them closed. Not enough of them had an opportunity to get online. And so when we look at the state of small business, especially Black-owned businesses, they're still entirely too small don't have enough employees. Usually you've only got the sole proprietor and not any employees. They're not accessing capital. They're not digitally ready for what needs to happen today in the marketplace. And just in general, really need all of our support in order to really create economic opportunity for them.
Yeah. There was a Washington Post story that I may have shared with you that referenced the April 2020 census and said something like 41% of Black-owned businesses actually shut down during the pandemic, although there has been a rebound and new business formation has been on the rise in 2021 and beyond. And of course, we have a lot of businesses are in food services and performance art spaces and personal services and professional services. You were on the front line at your previous organization supporting these businesses. So what were the conditions that you saw, and how are these organizations responding to current going forward?
So you hit on a really important statistic, Dwayne, and one that I don't even like saying, but it's critical that we say it, and we say it again and again. And that was, yes, during the pandemic, what we saw for Black businesses was they were closing 41%. We lost 41% of Black-owned businesses during the pandemic. Just a devastating number to hear and to know. So many Black women had been starting businesses at really high rates prior to that.
Okay.
And we can talk a little bit about why we think that's the case. But in terms of responding and really helping businesses and what's needed, what I found is that a number of these businesses are really in need of access to capital. So for Black-owned businesses, they often start with much less in equity capital because of the racial wealth gap in comparison to their white counterparts. So whereas white counterparts are able to, small businesses are able to raise from friends and family who might have wealth that they can tap into, Black-owned businesses don't have that same opportunity. So they aren't starting with the same level of resources. And we found that over time, this really hampers their ability to be able to grow and hire staff and look for other market opportunities. So being able to help fill that gap by providing equity-like financing, grant financing, to really help businesses, Black-owned businesses can be a part of that solution. So much of, you talked about the fact that a lot of the businesses in the Black community are in personal care services, for example. And I'm really proud of the fact that during the pandemic, I was able to start the first and only Black business accelerator in LA County. And it was focused on personal care businesses. And what these businesses needed was mentorship, business planning support, different technology that they could utilize to really help them grow their business and grow their customer base.
And tell me, are the traditional economic development organizations and or Black business organizations that do exist not providing those support services that Black businesses need? Where's the gap lie?
Yeah, so Dwayne, let's be clear. There are a number of folks who've been doing this for a really long time. Black business associations, the greater African American Chamber of Commerce, other Black business chambers of commerce throughout the region here in Los Angeles, for example, and they're doing excellent work. And part of that work is that they are convening and creating space and opportunity for those businesses to know, hey, there's another business owner just like you. But we just talked about this number, Dwayne. We lost 41% of our businesses. We're looking at 98% of all Black businesses do not have employees. So we got a really, they're really small businesses that are out there. And so as you can imagine, the need is very great. So those few organizations alone can't just do it by themselves. And so the gaps come in, meaning really because the need is so deep. And we're going to need more than just Black chambers and African American, chambers of commerce in order to meet this need. It's going to require that corporations really look at how can they extend contract opportunities to Black-owned businesses. We're going to need to look at financial institutions and banks and how can they really get serious about making sure that Black businesses have access to capital. So those are some of the gaps, is making sure that there is the money as well as market opportunities for our Black-owned businesses.
You mentioned the role of banks and your traditional financial institutions, and that's an interesting one because, we were grateful to have, I think, one of your collaborators, City National Bank, on episode 56, I believe, talking about, their investments in South LA, the Crenshaw branch, but also a most recent conversation with Casey Keys and Alusham Getachew as female developers, talking about all these initiatives by these banks, yet still not reaching, them themselves. So, what are you seeing in terms of the role and engagement by traditional financial institutions in these underserved communities, and how do you partner with them to see that we build a stronger bond of economic partnership and collaboration?
Yes, and it's so critical that having those capital resources. So, Dwayne, the Center by Lendistry is actually a sister organization to Lendistry, which is a CDFI, a Black-led CDFI to be exact.
And for our listeners,
yes,
CDFI is?
A CDFI is a community development financial institution, and that's a designation by Treasury. A CDFI, as designated by Treasury, has the capacity to do lending in communities, and their goals as CDFIs is really to lend to diverse businesses, so focusing in on Black businesses among other diverse businesses in LMI areas and other women-owned businesses, for example. And Lendistry, as our sister and partner organization, has that capital. So you ask traditional banks and financial institutions, what can they do? And then how do we partner with them?
Gotcha.
So traditional banks and financial institutions have, really shown that they are, don't have as much knowledge in how to get access to the businesses in our communities, and especially Black-owned businesses. But CDFIs have been there as a partner. And so we look to aggregate resources from the major financial institutions and then utilize those resources to be able to provide loans and lines of credit and other capital products to Black-owned businesses in the community. So I'm really proud of the work that we've been doing to secure that capital and to get it to small businesses.
Yeah,
I would say,
great.
Dwayne, anybody who's listening right now and is in need of capital or wants to really assess what kind of capital they might be able to access, to give us a call over at the Center by Lendistry or even Lendistry.
Well, give us an email address and a phone number.
Sure. So for actually, it'd probably be best to go to our website, Dwayne.
Okay, let's do that.
So
let's give out your cell number.
Oh, no. I'm like, hold on. So we're talking www.thecenterbylendistry.org. So Lendistry is spelled Lendistry. So www.thecenterbylendistry.org. Or you can also reach us at www.lendistry.com to access capital.
Excellent. Thank you for that. And we'll make sure we post that in the show notes and promote that on social media. Tunua, thinking about, California, where we are, 99% of businesses in California are identified as small businesses. And while African Americans just make up roughly 8% of the population, we own approximately 2% of all these businesses. So hugely underrepresented. Can you speak to the center's focus on impacting small businesses, but also the role in growing more Black-owned businesses and growing more Black entrepreneurs?
Yes. I mean, this is such an exciting prospect and one that, can take us the whole hour to talk about. But let's start with the fact that we want to continue to create a culture of entrepreneurialism. Again, prior to the pandemic, we were seeing Black women open businesses at very high and high velocity rates. Part of what we were seeing is that they noted that in the traditional workplace, they weren't really being given the opportunities to excel. And so we're looking for other outlets to do that. There's also a need to have flexibility when it comes to family life balance. So being able to be your own boss and move forward accordingly. So we really want to promote and uplift the fact that you can be a successful entrepreneur in community. So profiling businesses is really critical so people can see that and see themselves in the opportunity. There's also a need to help start businesses. There isn't as much capital out there as I would like, Dwayne, to help businesses start. It's just capital that's a little bit harder to come by, but I am constantly talking about that initial equity investment that small businesses need. And possibly by the time this airs, we're actually working on a product specifically around franchises to help Black entrepreneurs and all entrepreneurs get into small business via a franchise. So we hope to have more information on that. And we know that part of getting started is that capital piece accordingly. And then, the other element is how do we grow these businesses? How do we make sure that the businesses that are there, that are successful so far, that we grow them so they can grow their jobs? Well, a big part of that is helping them access new market opportunities. And so one of our programs is really focused on helping diverse small businesses really be able to get contracts with like municipalities and anchor institutions.
That's growing existing businesses. Speak to any work that you may be doing in schools to inspire that young person who's got a creative, bent and an entrepreneurial bent. And how do you work with schools to nurture and engage, young entrepreneurs?
Yeah, one of the things that's, I think, going to be a game changer in the next couple of years as the curriculum gets rolled out is that the state of California now requires a financial education and financial literacy course for all high schoolers. That is not only going to change sort of young people's understanding of the stock market and saving and responsible credit. But I'm also hoping to be able to share some elements around being an entrepreneur, what that means and putting together a business plan. I have worked closely, for example, with the Los Angeles Urban League and their youth program. They've got a summer program that they sponsor. My daughter actually went through it some years ago. Yeah, she came in third place. I was so proud of her.
What was her business idea?
She pitched an idea where she was looking to get her hair braided. And she was like, Mom, there's nowhere online, and this was a few years ago, where you could go and research braiders, get a sense of what their ratings were, and maybe even book online and get connected. And so she had a whole concept around that. But that's the idea, helping young people dream about what's possible.
That's great. So we always like promoting the work that you're doing and the programs and services that you do offer. And I know the Center by Lendistry offers a range of programs. So give us a highlight of a few of these services around consulting, education, and funding.
Sure. So at the Center by Lendistry, we are constantly looking for those equity and grant opportunities. So stay connected with us. If we're not deploying those grants in partnership with Lendistry, which we've done around the country to the tune of nearly $2 billion in grants, stay connected because there's always something coming out. And I can't say exactly what just yet, but just know that we will be looking at distributing some resources soon coming up within the next 12 months or less. So, then there's also one-on-one business advising and counseling. So if you're a business owner really looking to grow your business, we've got business advisors that are standing by. We'd encourage you to sign up via our website, learn more about those resources. And then over the next few months, we are anticipating rolling out several cohort programs where you can learn everything from accessing procurement to being able to bring your business online in a digital form and really focusing on identifying a new customer base or expanding and creating repeat customers by making sure you have a digital presence.
What's generally the eligibility to participate in any of these initiatives?
Yeah, great question. So we're really looking to work with all business owners, but we have an emphasis on diverse business owners. We want to make sure that those who probably wouldn't have access to other services, because our services are also free, this is also we see as an opportunity to infuse equity into those small businesses, because otherwise they'd have to pay for some of these business advising services.
Okay.
You don't have to be located in a specific neighborhood, but we are looking for entrepreneurs who maybe aren't paying themselves the big bucks, and so would be considered LMI by most standards. That's low and moderate income.
Yeah. No, that's great. And certainly you do this in collaboration with a number of other organizations that you've touched on already. And we thrive on supporting community connections and fostering collaboration and partnerships. So speak to the role of some of the partnerships that you have in place. We've talked about, I know, City National Bank, which of course they were a great guest, episode 56, and Chase and your old employer Lisk. So speak to these collaborations and how they work and advance the work that you're doing.
Yeah, so we partner a lot with financial institutions. I won't go naming them all because there are so many to go over, but we certainly look forward to working with a number of banks on the regional as well as national level. Foundation partners are also very helpful. They help us with some of that cohort programming. The state of California, LA County, for example. So we've got municipal partners that we engage and work with. And then there are other, community partners. So there are other organizations who also work with small businesses. And we just find that working in collaboration with those organizations really helps us help that business owner, because maybe they need something from us, capital, financial planning, but possibly could get some other services from other local business organizations.
And as you go forward for our listeners, what are the kind of partnerships or collaborations are you looking for, and how might others get involved in supporting this work and supporting Black and Brown and women-owned businesses?
Yeah, great question. I love that. So we're always looking for partners, Dwayne.
Okay.
So we're looking for banking partners. We're even looking for corporate partners, especially those corporations who engage with small businesses. So payroll services, marketing, digital services. I won't name any companies, but any companies who are looking to connect to small businesses and want to make sure that they educate them on how their platforms can be really useful for their businesses. And we're always looking for other community partners. Those community partners might have a specific geography that they're focused on and want to make sure that their commercial district is great. We want to partner with you.
Right.
Maybe those partners have a specific language that they're working with and don't have as much of the technical assistance information that we have. Let's work together. Let's get it translated. Let's make sure that businesses who speak a language other than English have a chance to participate. So we are, always down for and interested in trying to identify, where the synergy and partnership might be. And then I'll just briefly mention that, local jurisdictions, cities, counties, places like that. I've written extensively on how to create an equitable economic recovery and the role that municipalities can play in that. So we're absolutely interested in partnering with local jurisdictions on their strategies as well.
Oh, that's great. I know part of your coming to lead the Center by Lendistry was also to give the organization a greater, national presence and prominence. And I know your work has traditionally or thus far been primarily in the LA area, but you're growing this organization nationally. I'm curious to get your thoughts, if you have any to share with us, on how Black businesses in our region are faring compared to Black businesses in other jurisdictions, and are there any specific markets? I saw one article that noted that certainly in D.C. area, Black businesses as percentage of overall is the highest percentage of 28% or so. And of course, we know of thriving Black business areas like Atlanta. But I'm just curious to get your sense of the state of Black businesses, particularly in our region versus other jurisdictions that you're engaged in.
So yes, I'm really excited about being able to create a national footprint for the Center by Lendistry. Our affiliate and partner Lendistry is national. They've done $8 billion in its nearly 10-year history in lending to small businesses across the country. There are several key large jurisdictions and some medium-sized jurisdictions, some of which you've mentioned, which we think are great places for us to continue to spread our work. And I've had a chance to travel a little bit and talk to Black-owned businesses actually in some of those markets. And honestly, the needs and the issues are quite similar. What we're probably up against more so in California than in other markets is that in other markets, there is an opportunity to explicitly say and support from a statewide and local jurisdiction standpoint. They can actually say they're supporting directly Black small businesses.
Okay.
But because of Prop 209 in California, that makes it a little more difficult for us to earmark and dedicate funding resources as a state to those communities. However, what is needed is very similar. Many of them are looking for that know-how, so that technical assistance, the mentorship. So many of them are in need of access to capital because, frankly, a lot of the financial institutions that are here in California are also across the country.
Sure.
So those traditional institutions that aren't reaching them are not reaching them across the country. And so, they have expressed interest and a need for capital. So those things, really still remain the same. And many of them are still trying to really elevate their presence in the market and help people understand that they're there and that, hey, maybe you should reach out to this Black-owned small business and purchase from them or connect with them.
Yeah. Well, that's great. Well, again, given your experience at West Angeles, given your experience at LISC, given the work that you're taking on now, you've touched on a number of these things and you've seen how this is playing out in other jurisdictions. So if you were to create the world as a thriving world for Black businesses, what are the key ingredients that you think are required for building and sustaining a stronger Black business community in our region?
Well, Dwayne, that is quite a magic wand that I am waving.
Okay.
And I love it. One of the things that I talked about at the beginning of the conversation is that it's going to take more than Black-owned businesses themselves, but it's going to take all businesses and all who are interested in the economic well-being of the Black community to be interested in Black business. And so when I talk about the need for mentorship, it's not just the need for mentorship that those mentors should be Black, but they really should be mentors from industries that are similar in nature to the Black-owned businesses that we would bring to the table. So we're calling on those successful entrepreneurs out there of any race to really stand with us and commit to supporting Black-owned businesses by providing that mentorship. So I think that that's one critical piece I'd love to see. The other element, I talked a lot about capital and making sure that there are resources available. This would be a great opportunity to start to create equity funds that are additive for small businesses, Black-owned businesses, and not extractive. So let's not penalize a Black-owned business who is not able to achieve the exact returns that we would hope with really high cost equity capital, but let's really pull together a set of resources that is more flexible, more patient, and allows for a business owner to really test some things out and hopefully win, right? We'll be rooting for them to win in the end. And then I would also say for Black-owned businesses, there's still a need for what I would consider to be management expertise, really access to the kind of information that includes technology and the use of technology and making things easy, faster, and maybe less expensive. And then I'm going to keep, I know access to capital is critical and that's something that we do. But the other thing that we do is really help businesses create that digital footprint for themselves. And I'd like to see more Black-owned businesses doing that. Okay, Dwayne, can I mention one more thing?
Absolutely.
That would be on my dream list? Okay, you gonna let me?
You go.
Okay,
Do your thing.
There is a group. There's an organization that's called I believe it's the 15% Project.
Okay.
And you might not have heard of it, but it is a project by which a young woman, Black woman, decided to encourage corporations to set aside 15% of their shelf space for Black-owned businesses.
Oh, wow.
And so when you ask, and when I think about what can everybody be doing to help Black-owned businesses, well, it's creating that shelf space in your business. If you're, a business that buys from other businesses or pulls together and curates products from other businesses.
Can you imagine if Target offered up 15% of shelf space? That would be a game changer.
Well, they've signed on to the pledge, which is really exciting.
Wow. Okay.
I know, but what if we got other businesses? We got universities in our communities to do just that.
Yeah.
What if we got hospitals in our communities to do just that?
Wow.
As we think about some of the large anchor institutions within communities, if there was a dedication to making sure that Black-owned businesses had shelf space.
That's an amazing initiative.
Wouldn't it be?
Amazing. Wow. Okay. Anything else you want to add to the wish list of ingredients?
Well, the wish list can go on.
Yeah.
But since this is August and it's Black Business Month, why don't I just tell the listeners, make sure you buy Black.
Yeah.
Right? And ask and find out whatever purchase you're making this month, find a way to make sure that you're connected with a Black business.
Outstanding. So, Tunua, I know you're recently new to this role at the Center by Lendistry. Give us your hope for the future of the organization and how you seek to expand on your services, both locally and nationally.
Dwayne, I am excited about the opportunity to be able to bring capital access, know-how, digital and other management performance enhancement opportunities to small businesses across the country, and especially to those that are in communities and neighborhoods that need it most. I started the podcast talking about growing up in South Central Los Angeles and wanting to have a career that focused on bringing economic vibrancy to communities. And I believe that the center may be an organization to do just that as our future goes.
Tunua, this has been a great dialogue, and we really appreciate your time joining us today and all that you've done for this community, both in South LA, but across all of LA County, and I know what you're going to be doing nationally. And hopefully we'll have you on again to celebrate the progress that you're making, and we'll check against the wish list that you put forth for us today. So as we like to say on CivitasLA, the guest gets the last word. Any concluding thoughts or calls to action that you'd like to share with our audience?
Well, I'm going to repeat the Buy Black. It's August. It's Black Business Month. This is your opportunity to connect with a Black-owned business and make sure that your dollars are there to support Black business.
Outstanding. Tunua, thank you for joining us today. We appreciate it. And to our audience, thank you for tuning into this podcast episode. We hope you learned something, and we hope you'll join us in 2 weeks as we look forward to another great civic conversation. As we always say, until we meet again, stay strong and get involved. To learn more about CivitasLA and share feedback on this program, or if you have a recommendation about future programs, please visit our website at www.civitasla.com and connect with us on Facebook at CivitasLA, Instagram at Civitas_LA, and Twitter at Civitas_LA.